Hello, Rosie Glow here with a little update on the upgrade that is coming with this upcoming full moon in Aquarius. If you don't know me, I am channeling divine grace through this frequency of Rosie Glow, and I work with awakening star seeds to remind them of who they really are, get them deeply connected to their soul purpose, and let their soul take control so that we're each activating our divine human codes here on this earth and co-creating the new earth paradigm, which is Paradise Earth. So if you like the sound of that, please hit the subscribe and the like buttons and the notifications and everything else that allows this stuff to become more visible, because you are tuning into the frequency of grace. And that's what we all need to do right now. And the invitation of this full moon, it's the first of 2 full moons in Aquarius, is for us to fully anchor into our 5D frequency, into our superhuman consciousness, and to upgrade the mainstream narrative. This is what's been coming through my guides. If you took part in the new moon co-creation meditation, which was nearly 2 weeks ago now, you will have activated the codes for I am safe in my skin. We were really about accessing that heart truth and feeling that we had the courage inside of us to be able to act in alignment with our heart's truth, which is our soul truth. You know, our heart connects us to our higher self, to our multidimensional nature, so that we can access the aspects of our being that are already living the reality that we want to live. But we need to clear the resistance to it. The density in us is the fear, is the conditioning, is the old beliefs that actually aren't ours, that we've inherited from others, but we're very loyal to. This misguided attempt to honor our ancestors leaves us basically with glass ceilings, shooting ourselves in the foot and doing all sorts of things to access more our limitations than our empowerment. And I'm going to give you a little example of that in a moment. But what I really want you to understand is that when we get to the full moon energy, and the more I've been learning about the moon, the more I've come to accept that actually it's not a natural construct. It is something that is being created by consciousness in order to inflict some kind of timeline upon us, a limitation timeline connected to Saturn. In the end, it all acts to liberate us, because there's nothing like a boundary to push against. But when we get to new moons, we plant seeds. With full moons, we get to shed all of the resistance that's in the way. That's why you end up finding that people go a little cray-cray around the full moons, because all that stuff that's pent up in the collective and in us individually needs a purge. That's why I am now offering the full moon meditation as an upgrade rather than a meditation. It is a world service. It is a personal healing. It's a global healing. It's where you get to take the seeds that you planted with the new moon and to totally clear the resistance to those seeds actually sprouting and flowering in your beautiful life. So we need to feel invincible. We need to feel safe. If you saw the thumbnail here, I'm playing at being a superhuman, superwoman. I am a superwoman. But ultimately, what we were working with when we came to the new moon was this idea of having like a really thick skin, this a capacity to be like a crab, because it was a new moon in Cancer, and to protect ourselves and to protect our heart's truth from anything that is seeking to erode or destroy our essence, our divine essence, our belief in ourselves. And that is going on massively in the collective, okay? This is my opinion, but as I perceive it, we have 2, maybe 3 worlds split, okay? You've got the old world, which is fear-based. You've got the new world that is basically the one that we're seeking to co-create. And then we have a bridge to build between the two. And so some of us, like me, are on the side where we're creating the new earth, and that's our focus. Others are on the other side where they're basically just destroying the old world and bringing it down. And then the bridge is the space between those who are totally closed, shut down, unwilling to see anything, and those who are totally open, can see the game and the fast for what it is, and those who are awakening that need some support to be able to move through the illusion and confusion that is natural when you're waking up from a dream, when you're waking up from a slumber. And here's the weirdest thing. Those of us who are living a higher consciousness, that crazy world out there seems like a dream, right? I know that I'm living a completely different reality to those that are stuck in fear. You know, I've just witnessed something very, very sad over the weekend, which is how friendships, you know, are put under strain, and how friendship groups can turn on those who are actually standing forward and speaking truth that's difficult for them to fathom. If you're asleep and someone around you is saying, this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right, and you're going, la, 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 I don't want to hear it. And what you end up doing is you attack the person who is basically saying, hold on, guys, this isn't the only way, you know, let's have a look at this. Things aren't adding up. And our mainstream narrative It's fear-based. It has been for so long that we just expect it to be. But if we are our activated divine human selves, our superhuman selves, if we access our soul consciousness that is beyond your supermind, by the way, this isn't just about like being in the flow zone. This isn't about maximizing your productivity. This is about downloading your soul codes. When I look at other teachers out there, influencers, amazing people doing amazing things, I'm seeing a lot of people stuck at the glass ceiling of the top of 4D, which is look what I can create. And I've got masses of people following me and I'm helping make the world a better place. I'm like, great. You have taken something that was a lack consciousness in your earlier life and you've turned that around. Now you're helping other people to do it. Let's take it to the next level. Let's remember we are souls that are here embodied in physical form. We're here to activate our soul consciousness through connecting to our hearts. So you might have heard of heart math, right? So the Heart Math Institute are basically talking about something called heart-brain resonance or heart-brain coherence. And the beautiful thing about this is you get the brain to follow the heart rather than the heart entraining with the brain. Now, when we really get this as a collective, we'll realize that everything we could ever possibly seek to create that uplifts us, that expands us, already exists. And as our activated superhuman selves, what we do is we align with that. Our true north is to align with the version of us, with the energy of that creation. And the hard work involved is to love up the resistance that basically is in the way to achieving that goal. Everything I hear successful people say is do things that you're uncomfortable doing. It's do things that are challenging for you. It is do whatever it takes. There's definitely this sense of using our will and channeling it in a constructive way. And we're all having to do that today in this world. We're all having to do that today to help everybody see that just because there's a tsunami of a particular opinion, it doesn't mean it's the right. It doesn't mean it's the most upgraded opinion. And if we were each to activate our own soul codes in our hearts and to remember who we really are, to activate that super consciousness that is our truth, then we do upgrade the mainstream narrative. So on Thursday, 8 p.m., that is when I'm going to be hosting the full moon co-creation meditation and energy upgrade, and you are invited to participate. There is a small fee. That is because you are there to gain something and you are gifting in the currency of gratitude for what you're already going to receive. I know that you are serious about it and you are entering into my inner circle, which is with high frequency beings who've done a lot of work with me already. When you step forward into this full moon meditation space, you are accessing all of my graduates. Okay, one of my graduates recently just messaged me to tell me that Laurie Ladder's following her now on Instagram, right? Like there's amazing things happening when we tune into our soul consciousness. Got other people falling in love, making babies, all sorts of wonderful things happening. It happens when we are in flow, when we surrender our ego desires to our highest self desires, to the highest expression. When we say thy will be done, we mean highest self will be done. We mean soul self be done. I'm allowing myself to surrender my smaller mindset for something much bigger. And we all need to do that right now. We need to do it because we have been fed a lie for so long that we have believed that lie. And I'm going to give you an example. So I used to work a lot in public health. I used to work in the maternity services or with the maternity services. I was the thorn in their side because I was the woman who ran a yoga center, a yoga school in Croydon. And I worked very closely with the Croydon University Hospital and the Maternity Services Liaison Committee. And what I did was I sat there as a user rep for many years, bringing the stories of my women, the women that had birthed through my classes, who had stories of that hospital. So when they were saying to us, oh, our statistics are brilliant, I would go in and go, oh, really? Well, here's this situation, here's this situation, here's this situation. I brought what they didn't want to see to their attention because the narrative was everything's brilliant, even though they were one of the worst performing maternity units in the country, okay? We're wonderful, statistics. And I'm going, you're not that wonderful, actually, because look what's happening behind closed doors. Look at this woman's story, look at that woman's story, look at this woman's story. But I tell you no lie, in the 10 years that I was working with the Maternity Services Liaison Committee there, and I co-chaired it for a year and then I chaired it before I actually left. And I left for a significant reason, which I'll explain. In the 10 years that I was working with them, they went from one of the worst performing hospitals, maternity units, sorry, to one of the best in the country. Now, initially, did the senior midwives like me? No. Did I feel like the ice broke when I walked into the room? Yes. Did I feel like I was being attacked? Yes, because you know what? I wasn't saying what they wanted to hear, but I was prepared to work with them. And what I did with that is to help every woman that hadn't had her voice heard, every woman who in that moment when the door was closed, someone abused their power in order to dominate because they know best and they disempowered this woman, everyone got held accountable. Every rotten egg in that hospital, in that maternity unit got found, right? And as a result, the staff that wouldn't upgrade, that wouldn't change their ways had to go, and new staff came in, and it was absolutely amazing. I was so happy in the end with the senior team that were there because they really, really wanted what was best for the women. They were willing to meet women, to empower themselves. And, you know, ultimately it's up to each of us to educate ourselves. But what happened was absolutely amazing, and it came from being willing to be the one that wasn't popular, but was still going to speak her truth on behalf of all those other women, and also my own experience of being in environments where those who supposedly are more esteemed and have more knowledge than me and have more authority abuse their power. Okay, and I say that because there are a lot of blinkered thinkers out there that are advising us right now that believe there really is only one way. Now, whether that is of nefarious intent or whether it's well-meaning ignorance, who knows? But that doesn't mean that we accept it, we take it lying down. We've got to stand up. Another example of this is perfect for what's going on with the therapeutic offerings at the moment. I'm talking about that thing that everyone's queuing up to get, and you know how we've gone from only the most vulnerable would need to take it to now everybody has to have it, including the children. Where did that come from? And suddenly it works on all these, you know, variables that, you know, it wasn't made for. Isn't that interesting? Doesn't our immune system do that? I think it does, you know. Anyway, here's the deal. Analogy, labour ward, high tech. A woman is scared of giving birth. So she wants to be in the place where everything is available to her just in case, right? Doesn't need any of this because the baby's presenting fine. She's got a good body. Everything's aligned. She's fine. She just needs some support in getting over her fear. But no, got to be in that hospital environment, wants the doctor on hand, wants everything there just in case. It's this just in case mentality we need to be aware of because it's fear driven, it is lack driven, and it gets us into an awful lot of trouble. So what happens? Well, if you're in a labour ward and you're waiting for a labour to progress and you have all of these reminders of the help you could get, the epidurals, the assistance, the this, the that, basically we lead into a situation we have a highly medicalised birth. It happens because we're put under pressure to perform within a certain time frame. It's arbitrary, the idea that a woman would actually dilate at 1 centimetre an hour. Like, who came up with that? That's just post-war stuff, right? They want you in and out as quickly as possible. Anyway, I'm digressing. Point is, she ends up going from what could have been an easy labour with the right kind of support, where she could have, when I say labour, laboured on her own and given birth with minimum intervention and complications, to one where she ends up either with a ventouse or a forceps or an emergency Caesar. And she says, thank God the doctor was there. Thank God I was in the labour ward. But what she doesn't realise is by virtue of the fact that these conditions were around her, she was setting herself up for the problems that came about as a result. So she's thanking the problem, right? Now, please don't get me wrong, because there are phenomenal doctors, midwives, maternity services all around the world, okay, that do a great job to empower women to trust themselves and to minimize any intervention and risk, and therefore are really just there for the woman and the baby as needed. But we're talking about situations that are typical of our maternity services around the world, which are litigation fueled, by the way, because no one wants to be responsible for something terrible happening, even though with all of the advances that we have in technology and in medicine and in science, things still do go wrong. So if I use the analogy now of this just in case blanket approach to us all being liberated, you can see that people are arguing for the limitations. They're arguing for the fact that something that was presented to us as a solution isn't actually doing the job it was meant to. People are still getting sick from the thing that they were supposedly being protected from. Why did we all take this in the first place? Why did we all get put under pressure to take it so that we could get rid of the problem collectively? We're not doing our bit if we don't take it, right? We're made to feel guilty and bad for the fact that we don't want to participate in an experiment. And as a result of that, what happens? Those who then get sick as a result of following the rules and following the protocols still argue for the limitations, still argue for the medical advances, even though there are other alternatives out there. Now, why is the mainstream choosing a particular narrative right now? Some of us believe there is nefarious intent. Some of us believe it's entirely down to best well-meaning but misinformed choices, okay? Whatever, it is time to upgrade this narrative. So I want you to imagine when you join me on Thursday at 8 p.m. by following the link in the text box, and you need to pay, remember, don't forget to do that, and please don't leave it last minute. You are now subscribing to upgrading the narrative and the collective. I want you to imagine that instead of feeling like you have to fight against everything in the world today, instead of having to fight against the establishment is you, it's on your side. You have established a new earth paradigm. When you turn the news on, there's only good stuff going on. There's only transparency, accountability, how shitstorms have been turned into amazing, wonderful creation stories. When you read the news, you are uplifted. Everything that you read uplifts you and reminds you of the goodness in humanity. And everything that is not great in this world is brought to light. Together, we co-create solutions. Schools that really educate and empower us as free thinkers to be innovative, to look after ourselves and our planet. Like I could go on and on. Public health that really is integrated, formative health, where, you know, A&E is A&E, whereas holistic health is what we understand we need long term, and we are supported to work with practitioners that we feel we have a connection with, rather than being forced to go to a stranger and to follow this protocol and this protocol. And if we dare do anything else, oh my God, we're not following medical advice, right? Wisen up, friends. I don't need to be a scientist. I do not need to be a doctor to be able to point out elephants in the room and that emperors don't have any clothes on. I am saddened to see how much divide has gone on as a result of ignorance, but that's not going to stop me moving forward and speaking up and saying, you know what? It is time for us to create something new together. And I'm inviting you to receive the codes for your own upgrade and upliftment into your superhuman self and into playing your part to upgrade the divine, the mainstream narrative. And I'm also inviting you to be able to receive all of this so that you can support humanity to do it. So as we are the examples, we're like a mini universe, a mini world. If we go through the process ourselves, our energy reverberates out to everybody. And that's what I'm inviting you to do. So please do join me. Remember that at the moment, the energy is incredibly intense. For everything that we upgrade, we have an immediate purge. I talked about that in the new moon. So welcome the purge, welcome the stubbing your toe, welcome the what seems like a little regression before a progression, because it's not that you're energizing it, you're just clearing it. Okay, it's really important to remember that. And for those of you who are empowerment leaders of the female form, please get in touch with me ASAP if you're interested in finding out more about my in-person Divine Feminine Leadership Retreat. I am offering pre-booking now. Okay, so those of you who sign up now and say you're interested will get the pre-booking price. But as soon as the sale price comes out, as soon as I've published, we go to sale price. So if you are someone who's already working to empower other women, or you're in a series of empowering yourself and being a thought leader, being an influencer, being someone who has influence of higher position, please consider coming along, coming to the place where you can actually clear whatever persecution vows are still in your consciousness, whatever limitations, glass ceiling, fears are holding you back, because we're all being invited to upgrade to our divine feminine selves rather than just working from an empowerment level in 4D or 3D consciousness. This is the 5D upgrade. It is also a divine prosperity upgrade. We are going to be stabilizing our energy so we can really be a phenomenal force for good, divine feminine force for good, where we're all the me that was in the maternity services liaison committee and goes, we're doing something different here. And here's how we're going to do it. And here's all the information that you need to face so you can adjust what you're doing, right? We're all going to do that. That's the invitation. And of course, I haven't told you yet that I'm rebranding my yoga as Awakening and Wondering What the Fuck Yoga. So for those of you who would like to know more about that, I teach on Monday nights. It will be a longer class now, one class, 7:30 till 9 p.m. It's online. It's going to dovetail with my upcoming podcast, Awakening and Wondering What the Fuck, where I'm going to be basically bringing people forward to speak to you about their own awakening journey. And, you know, yoga, that is multidimensional yoga, accesses your light body. It accesses the chakras that are beyond the 7 chakras. So we're working with our earth chakra, soul chakra, stellar gateway. We are harmonizing all of the core lines of our divine architecture. We are learning to transverse 3D, 4D, and 5D consciousness, and to notice where the blocks are in our body that relate to the energetic blocks that hold us back, so that we can make more sense of the world. We can move beyond judgment to observation. We can love up our own fears, and we can be the most empowered version of ourselves in today's collective. It's all here for you, folks. It's congruent. Show up and shine. I love you loads. If you like what I'm saying here, please share this with someone else, and please do go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. It means the world to me, helps me to grow and be visible, and to share this message with the collective, because together we are going to seed star peace into our collective, and that's going to mean earth peace, paradise earth as well. This is what I'm here for. This is what I'm connecting with you for. So please show up and shine. Love you lots. See you Thursday. Don't forget to book. Bye now.